Hey guys, Dose. So this video is going to be about predictive programming. And for those of you who've never heard the term before, a simple explanation is that these events that happen in the world, these events that get, 24-hour news coverage for days, weeks, months at a time, those are all planned events. Those are all things that were made to happen. And what happens is the controllers, the people who create these events, they use media and entertainment to make people acquiesce, kind of, more malleable to the ideas that they want to push through, no matter how horrific it might be. In this example, we're going to examine 9/11. Now, 9/11, there are extensive videos about the predictive programming behind this event. I'm only going to focus on just a few, but apparently there's at least a good 60 to 100 that I know of personally. I didn't include them all in this video, for the sake of brevity and details and everything else. But suffice to say that, we're going to look at a few of these. Let's start here. This image is from Terminator 2. This is the scene where the T-1000 has located John, and he's going to ram him with his big rig truck. And Arnold swoops in there on his motorcycle and shoots out the tire, and he crashes into that little ravine thing. And it says caution 9/11 right there. And that's oddly specific, right? That's an oddly specific height. And really, what vehicles are going through a ravine section like that? That clearance, it's only printed like highway overpasses and things like that. There's not supposed to be trucks down in this ravine. That's what makes this a bit strange, to have this included into the movie. Somebody has to go up there. They have to paint that. They didn't, like I said, they didn't just find that. I've never seen that height ever in all my. I've been driving for well over 20 years. I haven't seen any clearance 9/11, caution 9/11. So that's pretty interesting. And here's the Illuminati card game. And yes, there's a card game about the Illuminati. And before you laugh it off, these are some of the cards. Look at some of the cards. Here's two of them. They got the trade centers and the Pentagon here, and they look almost identical to what happened on that day. So take that for what it's worth. Here's a travel ad for a Pakistani airline brochure from 1979. I mean, just look at this for a second. This is supposed to be a travel agency. This is probably the most ominous looking brochure I've ever, cover I've ever seen. Typically it's like, palm trees and, nice weather and maybe a girl in a bikini or something, right? No. We're going to have a trade centers overshadowed by a big jumbo jet. Okay, yeah. Here we have a scene from Back to the Future, the Twin Pines Mall sign. And you might be looking at it and saying, well, so what? There's nothing weird or fishy about this. Something you need to learn and understand is that oftentimes the controllers, they work in opposites. They work in inversions as well. Flipping things upside down, flipping things backwards, things like that. They often work in this way. And people go, oh, well, when you do that, oh man, you're just looking for it. No, there's these things called like laws of reversal and stuff. And this goes back to like Aleister Crowley's teachings that they are quite fond of. And if you don't know who Aleister Crowley is, that's a different video. Suffice to say that he called himself the most evil man on earth. And many of the world's controllers follow the books that he wrote. So right here we see the law of inversion, you know, working perfectly. Simpsons, here we go. Again, before you scoff at, before you laugh at it, apparently the Simpsons have tons and tons and tons of predictions that came true, because they're not really predictions. These people know what's going to happen in advance. I haven't watched The Simpsons since I was a kid, so I'm way out of a loop as far as that's concerned. But from what I've looked at and from what I've seen from other people doing videos and stuff, The Simpsons, yeah, there's a lot of predictive programming there. So yes, while I include this one here, you might just go, oh yeah, it's just a coincidence. No, it's really not. If you haven't looked into The Simpsons, look into that all on its own. Here's Viceland magazine from 1994. They got Beavis and Butthead dressed up as your stereotypical Middle Eastern terrorist, flying airplanes around the Trade Center. And yeah, I mean, what can you really say about this? Why are Beavis and Butthead portrayed in this manner? First of all, second of all, why are they flying airplanes around the Trade Center? Like, it just, none of this makes any kind of sense. None of this. And this is what I mean when it's being shown to you, you don't understand the severity of it at the time. You probably don't even know that you're being programmed. That's how this works. This is how they release their sigil magic. They show you what they're going to do in advance. You see it. You have no idea what you're seeing. They conduct, the ritual, the ceremony, whatever it might be, and there you go. The showing it to people beforehand increases the magic, increases the spell. And I know this sounds insane. It sounds crazy. It's not. This is how the world really actually works. Here's a sign from wrestling from the 80s. Demolition will topple the Twin Towers. Now, there are a couple caveats here. Demolition and the Twin Towers were, both names of tag team groups. And these two groups, the Twin Towers and Demolition, were going to, fake wrestle, fake fight. And some kind of event like SummerSlam or something. I don't remember. But remember, everything that is put out there is for a purpose. Everything that is created is for a purpose. What do you think the odds are that some random fan would write this down on a poster board, go to this event, hold it up, and get camera time? What do you think the odds are of that? How many people bring signs and stuff to these events? I remember being a kid, and almost you could see people in the background holding up all kinds of stuff. You couldn't read any of it because there's just too many of them. They couldn't focus in on all of them. So again, the odds of this happening, that these two groups would be put together and this sign would actually get airtime, not very likely. 1979, Supertramp, Breakfast in America. Again, here's another great example of the law of reversals. When you look at it straightforward, doesn't mean anything, doesn't really say anything, but when you flip it around, yeah, it's kind of weird, right? And again, I'm going to keep saying this, these pictures and this art is done 100% deliberately. They didn't just go, oh, you know what? Let's just have somebody holding up a tray, and through, next to them there's a Twin Towers below, and like, what sense does that make? Like, think about if you're a band, right? And you put together an album, and it's meaningful to you, right? It means something to you. And you're sitting there and you're going, well, we don't really care what the cover art is. Let's just do some random garbage. And we'll just, slap it on there, and yeah, that's good. No, they have to pick this stuff. Someone is picking it. Either they're picking it or someone's picking it for them, but someone is choosing it. And again, you see the law of reversal. Very interesting. Okay, before you laugh this one off, Sesame Street is another one of those shows that has sign symbology and predictive programming in it. Not so much the old ones, but the newer ones, absolutely. And again, it's interesting to note that Sesame Street, it went from like basically on its deathbed. Nobody was really watching it or even cared anymore. And now it has its own theme park, and it's got its characters back, and they're pushing C119 injections. Oh yes, this is true. They're pushing C119 injections and social distancing and all the nonsense that they want us to do. So I find it very interesting that Sesame Street gets a second life, if you will, and they're pushing all this nonsense, and we have something like this that we can look at too. So like I said, before you laugh at it, look into Sesame Street. It's an awful lot like The Simpsons in that way, and it's targeted for a very, very, very young audience, so it's even more tragic. Godzilla versus Megalon. True story, I just finished watching this film about half an hour ago. And the World Trade Centers aren't even in it. There's nothing to do with the Trade Centers, like, at all. Nothing. But it's interesting that we see these two giants here on top of the Trade Centers. The destruction is imminent. Again, just putting it out there, something to think about. The Matrix, I know Kung Fu. Very interesting that Mr. Anderson, his ID has the date September 11th, 2001 on it. Again, these things aren't just pulled out of thin air. Of course, when you're writing your characters or whatever, you create the details for them. That's absolutely true, and that's exactly my point. The detail was created for the character Mr. Anderson. And so we see exactly the date and the year, the exact date and year as to the event itself. Again, what really is the coincidence here? What really is the chance of this is a big coincidence? And the Wachowski people, they've never addressed this as far as I'm aware. It's not like they came out and said, oh yeah, it's a complete coincidence, so just we freak occurrence. No. This was picked, and again, now that the Wachowski brothers have chosen to become sisters, they're pushing more of a new agendas and stuff in the last film. Don't even need to go into it. Basically, if you're pushing the agendas, you're part of the team. Independence Day, timer set at 9/11. Again, you have to choose these numbers, right? And it's just kind of like, I get if you might want to make like a random number or something like that. Yeah, I get that. That's what dice are for. You just kind of roll some dice or whatever. If you need a random number, that's usually how you do it. But no, this number was picked. It was picked for a reason. Again, they don't waste these creative decisions. They make their choices. They have a purpose. They put them out there. Here's a German comic for Nintendo, Super Mario Brothers. Very interesting. Again, somebody had to draw this. Somebody had to plan this out, put it down, commit it to paper. Nintendo had to, somebody had to okay this and move it along. Again, I just find it very interesting. What is the significance? Super Mario is not even supposed to exist in this world. It's supposed to be, the Mushroom Kingdom or whatever, So it's just, when you see this, again, nobody really thinks about it. Nobody really asks questions. They just kind of go, okay, all right, it's moving on. But you don't know that this is things being told to you. You don't know that until after the fact. This is St. John's Cathedral. And this is very interesting because this is not the only carving in the building. Oh no, this thing is full of carvings. And to be quite frank, they're all pretty ominous. And many people think and believe that there's tons of predictive programming in the St. John's Cathedral. But regardless, this was carved way before 2001. And I'm not sure why any church would want to depict these mass calamities and disasters and all this other stuff that the St. John's Cathedral is predicting. If you don't know about it, look up some pictures, look up some videos on it, because it's very interesting all on its own. I include this one simply for the fact that there's too much going on in there for this one to be a coincidence. And I've kind of saved the best for last. Look at this thing for a second. I mean, just look at it. The words trade centers are nowhere to be found on this cover, like at all. And we're talking about what will life be like after the boom. Okay, right. And just for fun, we have our our one eye symbolism off to the side there, and the gripping her face in terror and all that. Yeah, it's again, it's pretty strange. Like I said, if somebody came into my office and said, "Oh, hey, Dose, we need you to do a magazine cover," I go, "Okay, yeah, well, I can do that." Yeah, we're gonna talk about the housing crash. There's a real estate crash looming. Oh, well, boss, I have a great idea. I'm gonna show the trade centers. Okay. And next to the trade centers, I'm gonna put this woman screaming, right? Like just in terror. Ah! Right? And then, but you can only see half her face, right? And she's got a hand covering her face in terror and all that. Yeah, what do you think? Oh, Dose, I love it. That perfectly sums up exactly the thing that we're trying to talk about. Let's get it on. Let's print this right away. No, come on, give me a break. So, after what was it, 12, 14 examples that I showed you, and like I said, there's at least a good 60 or so that I know of offhand. So at this point, you're either thinking there's something to this, or you don't. If you're thinking there's something to this, you might be thinking to yourself, whoa, what the hell else are we being told about that we don't know about? Well, there are broader themes too. There are broader themes that they're trying to push forward. I mean, it doesn't have to be a specific event or a specific sort of thing that happens. A lot of times it's just to shift society in a way that they want it to. What are some of the ways that they want to shift this society? Well, let's look at some of the movies for a minute. There's technology implemented into the human body at every turn, right? Every dystopian, every cyberpunk, every, sci-fi movie basically has technology inside your body. And that's something that when you look at the World Economic Forum, they talk very openly about. Technology inside your body. Another theme, space aliens from space and space travel, right? First of all, space travel is fake. Doesn't exist. Different video, but it's fake. And that means that the aliens that they're trying to convince you exist through these movies and stuff, they also don't exist. Not in the way that you think. Project Bluebeam. Project Bluebeam is something you need to look up if you haven't already. Project Bluebeam, I could talk about that for weeks. There's so much to it. And you think about it. You think about all the movies that you watch, all the comics and everything you read. The themes are always there. Space travel, space aliens, technology inside of your body, these dystopian futures where there's no cash. These dystopian futures where people don't know how to communicate. They communicate, everything's done digitally, right? And then you look at what they talk about, at the World Economic Forum. You look at the things they want to do, the things they want to push through. Metaverse, Ready Player One and stuff like that, right? There's so much. There's so much on this subject that I could make this video into a couple hours easy if I wanted to. And again, it's just one of those things where, like I said, you don't have to look for these specific examples. When you're watching a movie, you don't have to be like, oh, what did the button on his jacket say? It said 269? What is that? Oh, I don't know. You don't have to be doing that. You can just look for broader themes. It's incredible the stuff, like I said, it's incredible the stuff that they tell us flat out they want us to do. They show us in movies to get us ready for it, and yet and still, people go, nuh-uh. I don't know what's going on. I don't know. Actually, I do know. It's mind control. But like I said, it's one of those things where it's kind of they're very open about it now. It's not really hidden. They don't have to hide things now. The people have been conditioned and are so dumb, they don't even believe their own eyes and ears anymore. And that's a scary thought all on its own. But just thought I'd throw this one out there. Maybe I can push you in some different directions. You can check out some things and start doing some looking around on your own. Because I encourage, like I said, I encourage people to don't just trust me. Look around on your own and see what you get. Love you guys. God bless.